Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers, and welcome back to Muse and Measure. I'm wearing a suit today because I've returned to work. My long and glorious sabbatical has ended, and I'm back to the joys of teaching. Although I felt like I did get to keep up my teaching chops through this YouTube channel, and I want to especially thank all of you who've commented and sent questions. That's meant so much to me, and even negative or criticisms that people have sent me have helped me so much in this process, and I really am very grateful to you for that. So please keep those questions and comments coming. Thank you all for of those of you who just subscribed as well, and if you haven't subscribed yet, just click that button down below. I'd really appreciate it. I just want to give you a quick little melody hack that I've learned recently, and I would tell you the source, but I've heard it from so many different places that I feel like it's just kind of out there, so I won't bother with that. But if you know of a particular person who came up with this, please put it down in the comments and I'll be sure to credit them. But basically it's using your memory and your forgetting as well to kind of cut the fat out of a melody. There's this old kind of a beat slogan, vividness is self-selecting, which means that we remember what we remember. And well, what the heck does that mean? What that means is like what is vivid, what is poignant is easy to remember. And what is not, what is kind of inconsequential or doesn't resonate with us, has no emotional connection with our experience, that just goes by the wayside. So we can use that as a tool for kind of just letting melodies edit themselves through the natural mental processes of pruning and myelination. So if you know a little bit of neurology like I do, I very little. Basically when you sleep, your brain prunes the connections between synapses that it deems unimportant, and it puts this coating called myelin on connections that it deems as important. And that myelin is like a coating, just like a electrical cable has coating on it. It speeds up and makes the signal move much quicker and much more efficiently. So the way you do it is you come up with a melody, you improvise it, or maybe you just take a 5 minutes, but you just don't want to spend too much time on it, because remember, this is not the editing process. We're going to let the mind's forgetting and remembering functions do the editing for us. So you just come up with a little melody. Let me just improvise one real quick. Dee, 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 dee. Do, 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 dee, do, do, dee, 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 woo. Okay, so whatever that was. What you do next, well, actually, let me give you a note. You want to avoid any of the fancy singing techniques. So like vibrato. Vibrato is like, ah. This is not a singing performance you're doing, so you can skip the vibrato. Any bends that you might normally do, you don't need those. Also melisma. Melisma is when you sing more than one note per syllable. So if I have Mary had a little lamb, right, however many syllables that is, I'll just take Mary. So melisma, instead of just going Mary, you would add a whole bunch of other notes. Mary. That's singing with melisma. So we don't want any of that, not yet. You can do that when you actually get the melody that you like and you're ready to add it with all those extra little tricks to kind of wring out the emotion out of the melody. What you want to do instead is just kind of have the melody be as simple as possible. And the trick of this is you're going to let the memory and the forgetting processes in your mind edit out what is not good in the melody. Because according to that saying, vividness is self-selecting, your brain is going to pick what in the melody is worth remembering. And that's what it will remember. Now, when I tried this, I've been doing this for a couple weeks now. When I tried this at first, I was finding that when I tried to remember it later, I had nothing. I had not even a fragment of it. Maybe that meant that those melodies were horrible. That could be. But I think it was more about just I'm getting old, or I don't know. Or just I didn't know the melody well enough. Whatever the reason was, who cares? The point is that I think that if you're having trouble remembering your melodies, you try this and you're just like, I don't remember any of it. I listened to it a few times. So I recorded my little melody and I listened to it back maybe 3 or 4 times during the day so that the melody was in my head. And then the next day, I tried to sing it back and I could remember parts of it. So the idea behind this is that you're going to sing this little melody and maybe just listen to it a couple times just so you have something to latch on. So you're telling your brain that you do want to remember it, but that you don't want to listen to it too much because you don't want to memorize it. And then maybe the next day or 2 days later, you can experiment with this. There's no hard and fast rule. You're going to record yourself singing that melody back. And then you kind of do an A-B test. A being the original melody that you sang, that you came up with, and B being the one that you remembered. And you're going to ask yourself, well, which one do you like better? And I think most of the time you're going to like the B one better because your mind has only remembered the parts that are vivid, that have some kind of emotional resonancy to them, and it's going to forget all the stuff that was just kind of fluff and filler, the stuff that wasn't that great. And you can do this with an improvised melody, or you could write a melody, like actually spend some time trying to write a melody using those motif tools that we talked about in previous lessons. I'll put a link to those down below if you want to review what is a motif and how to use them in composition. So you could write with a whole slew of motifs and actually write in a melody. But then if you're spending that much time on it, you might want to spend more time away from it, because you want to give your brain enough time to forget the parts that aren't so great and remember the parts that are great. So I'm curious to find out how this works for you. Please put down in the comments once you've tried this out how it went for you, whether you found this useful or if it was a total waste of time. But I'm finding it pretty interesting as I'm kind of refocusing on starting with a melody for a song as opposed to starting with a lyric or starting with a chord progression. I think most songwriters come up with a little chord progression and they just kind of find notes that fit within it. But you know, the melody is the most important part of a song. And so if you don't have a really strong melody, one that's rememberable, that's not a word, memorable, then the rest of, it doesn't matter. The song's not going to stick in people's minds. So starting with a melody is definitely worthwhile. Worthwhile, I said. It's worth the wildness, I guess. See, drainingness of work and teaching makes the mind go a little bit slower. Anywho, try this out. Let me know in the questions and comments down below how it went for you, and I'm excited to hear. I'll report back how it goes for me as well. All right, until next time, best of luck with your singing and melody making and your spiritual practice. Take care.